Hi everyone. So today's discussion is about the importance of the nervous system. So I'm going to do a little bit of an overview, and then in future chats I'll talk a little bit more specifically about certain aspects of the nervous system. So there's a huge link between gut health and the nervous system. So our nervous system is made up of nerves and chemicals that act as messengers for the body. It's like the software of a computer communicating with the hardware of our body, being the organs, the muscles, and the bones. And basically, the computer tells the parts of the body, the organs, the muscles, and the bones what to do. So there's something called the autonomic nervous system. And it basically works in the background. It's really important. It works automatically without our conscious control. And that's because it is so important for our breathing, our heart pumping blood and oxygen around our body, ovulation, digestion, sweating, shivering, all those are really important functions, so that they just go on and we don't interfere with those, because if they didn't work, we'd be in trouble. So that's called the autonomic nervous system, automatic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is then split into two parts, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is responsible for action. It's responsible for our fight or flight response. So it increases heart rate to get oxygen to the brain and the muscles so that we can either run away or fight. It stimulates glucose production, so we have the energy to either run away or fight. It stimulates adrenaline to give us oomph. It inhibits digestion. It also inhibits reproduction and ovulation, because these are not priorities. Survival this is all about survival. And it also contracts your rectum, so there's no pooing. Now, the parasympathetic nervous system does the opposite. So it stimulates salivation, ready for eating, because there are enzymes in the saliva that helps us to break down food. It's the beginning of that digestive process. It stimulates all of the processes of digestion and absorption and defecation or pooping. It stimulates ovulation and libido, because it's no longer about survival. It's about kind of other things that we're safe. Therefore, now we can eat our food, we can sleep, and we can make babies. That's really what the parasympathetic nervous system is about. So it's also keeps your eyes lubricated as well. So really important to have nice lubricated eyes and joints and everything else. So it's known as the rest and digest system, or the breed and feed nervous system, because that's kind of its priorities. So imagine the autonomic nervous system being a car, and the sympathetic nervous system is like the accelerator pedal, and the parasympathetic nervous system is the brake. So you need both the brake and the accelerator in order for the car to function. Too much brake, you don't move forward. Too much accelerator, and eventually the car will burn out, or it will hit a wall and crash. So when we are chronically stressed, then our foot is on the accelerator, we're on the go all the time, and we're never stopping. We won't be releasing saliva or digestive enzymes to break down our food into tiny bits that then get absorbed. It will inhibit the movement that pushes food through our gut, known as peristalsis, is also inhibited. So we're much more likely to experience problems like reflux, indigestion, bloating, constipation. And if we aren't absorbing our nutrients, then that will have a knock-on effect to our general health. It will affect all of our body systems, including our immune system, our mental health, and our hormones. Now, within the nervous system, we have specific nerves. This is specifically to do with digestion in particular. But there are specific nerves. They're called extrinsic nerves because they're outside. They connect our digestive organs, such as our stomach, our intestines, our liver, our gallbladder, and our pancreas, to the brain and the spinal cord. And these nerves, being messengers, they increase the release of chemicals, which then stimulate the muscles of the gut to either squeeze and contract or relax, depending on whether food needs to be digested or not. Then we have other nerves that are inside the gut, which are known as intrinsic nerves, and they stimulate the speed of movement, the motility, the movement of food through the gut, and the production of digestive enzymes that help us to absorb our nutrients as well by making them really tiny. So one of the most important nerves that link our gut to our brain is called the vagus nerve. and it connects the brain to all of our organs. So, and it's mainly active when the parasympathetic nervous system, the brake, is activated. It's called the wanderer because it travels all the way from the brain down to the kidneys, the uterus, and all of our digestive organs and our reproductive organs. So it's specifically responsible for stimulating the production of stomach acid, other digestive enzymes, bile, churning food in our stomach, the mechanical digestion, and stimulating the muscles in our gut to push food through and down. And that's the peristalsis and also the migrating motor complex, which I've talked about before. And it's also a really important communication bridge between our brain and our gut bacteria as well. So I'll talk about the vagus nerve another time. When I've done my 10-day challenge on beating the bloat, I talk quite a bit about the vagus nerve because it's hugely important when it comes to digestion and reducing or preventing digestive symptoms. Now, as food moves through our gut, it causes stretching, and this stimulates a conversation between our gut and our brain through our nerves. And sometimes the communication between the brain and the gut doesn't function properly. It's not really clear at the moment as to why this is, other than the nerves in the gut can become overly sensitive, and they tell the brain to respond differently by triggering pain, by bloating, by causing diarrhea or constipation, even from a small amount of food or even a small amount of gas. And emotions, stress, inflammation, they all play a role in this as well, which is why for some people, hypnotherapy or hypnosis can be just as beneficial as changing the diet in those people that have been diagnosed with IBS, because sometimes it's actually to do with the nervous system rather than specific food that is causing those IBS symptoms, which is really interesting. There's been studies to show that for some people, hypnotherapy is just as beneficial as going on the FODMAPs diet for some people, dependent on whether it's a nervous system reason or whether it's actually an intolerance to certain foods. So to summarize, number one, stress, chronic stress will stop you digesting food properly. Chronic stress in particular will create or can create digestive symptoms and gut disorders. So it's really important to get on top of chronic stress. Finding ways to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, the brake, and the vagus nerve is really, really, really important for this. So here are some different ideas. I'm just going to give, there are quite a few. I'm just going to give you the maybe my top 4. Number 1, eat mindfully and slowly. And I know that, oh, mindful eating, boring, but it's so true. If you sit and you stop before you eat your food, if you look at your food, you know, in the old days we would say a prayer or give grace. That's part of that mindful eating. It's looking at your food and thinking, I'm really grateful that I have this food. Taking time to look at the food, taking time to smell the food. It gives the chance for your brain and your gut to communicate with each other. And then slowly eating, slow your eating down, focusing on the taste and the texture and the temperature is all about stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. And that in itself can reduce any kind of bloating that you might have at the moment or even reflux. And then chewing your food until it's liquid is another really important part of that, because that in itself means that you're in a relaxed state. When you're rushing, you're telling your body that you're stressed. So by chewing your food and eating slowly, you're telling your body relax. So you're much more likely to digest your food properly and absorb nutrients, which will mean that you won't get those other effects from not absorbing nutrients. Your nutrients are really important for your general health. So chewing your food, eating mindfully and slowly are really important for making sure that your brain and your gut have time to communicate, can tell each other when you're full, tell each other if there are problems, and tell your body, you're not stressed, it's all good, I'm relaxed, therefore I can digest and absorb my food properly. Slowly, deep breathing will activate the vagus nerve and stimulates that relaxation response, that rest and digest mode. So remember, digestion can only happen when you're in that rest and digest mode. So most people take about 10 to 15 breaths per minute, sometimes a bit more. So spend a bit of time focusing on how many breaths a minute are you actually taking. Maybe slow down, see if you can take 6 breaths per minute. several times a day or just before you eat. Spend a bit of time doing some really slow, deep breathing and just kind of, it's a really good way of calming your body and telling your vagus nerve, yeah, put the brake on, I'm okay. Moving your body is really important. There's actually been quite a few research articles showing that exercise and yoga have both been able to stimulate the vagal nerve, and therefore digestion can work properly because of that. So it's really beneficial tool for managing chronic stress too. So not only does it stimulate the vagus nerve, which is really important for digestion and reproduction and everything else, but it also has been shown to actually aid digestion and chronic stress. A really good tool for that too. So it's all kind of linked together. And then hypnotherapy, try hypnotherapy. There's quite a few interesting studies now that show that gut-specific hypnotherapy can reduce IBS symptoms in some people, especially if a FODMAP diet hasn't worked, or if stress and nerve function is actually behind the gut symptoms rather than food intolerances. So you can find people that actually practice this gut-specific hypnotherapy. There's a really cool app called Nerva, which is out at the moment. I don't think it's quite expensive, but it's a really cool app. And if this is something you're interested in, then I will be offering a hypnotherapy for IBS online course that you can listen to as well. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. That's coming very soon. So let me know what you think about this. I will be focusing specifically on the vagus nerve in a later chat. And as I said, my 10-day Beat the Bloat challenge, we actually talk quite a bit about the vagus nerve and other things that you can do to stimulate it. But remember, if you are chronically stressed, deal with that as much as you can, because that will impact not just your hormones and your reproduction and libido, but it will, and ovulation, but it will also hugely impact your digestion and could be behind some of your digestive symptoms. So have a fantastic day. Let me know what you think, and I will see you all soon.